My girlfriend of 2.5 years took money from my mother and disappeared. I don't know who to hate more. I need to get this off my chest because I'm losing my mind. I've been with Taylor for 2.5 years. We moved in together after a year, split all our bills down the middle, kept our finances completely separate. She's an urban planner. I run a mid-sized logistics company I co-founded with a friend from college. Here's the thing nobody really knew about me except close friends. My family has money, like old money. My dad's a partner at a major investment fund. My mom sits on boards for art museums and charity galas. But I've never wanted that life. I built my company from scratch without touching a cent from them. I never made a big deal about my family's wealth to Taylor. When we first started dating, I downplayed it. Yeah, my parents are comfortable kind of thing. I didn't take her to their events, didn't parade her around the country club scene. Part of it was protecting her from that world, honestly. My parents can be judgmental. Part of it was protecting what we had. Our relationship felt real, built on actual connection, not money or status. Taylor was always weird about money anyway. In a good way, I thought. She insisted on paying for her half of everything. When I tried to buy her nice birthday presents, she'd get uncomfortable. "That's too much, Louie," she'd say. "I can't accept this." I thought it was sweet. She had this fierce independence about her. Her parents were blue-collar workers. Her dad worked construction. Her mom was a school cafeteria manager. She put herself through college and grad school. She never once asked me about my family's money, never tried to benefit from it. About 4 months ago, things started getting serious between us. I was thinking about proposing. I'd already looked at rings. But I knew I needed to tell my parents first because they'd been making pointed comments about me settling down properly for years. When I told them I was planning to propose to Taylor, the reaction was worse than I expected. My mother literally went pale. "Louie, you can't be serious," she said. "That girl is not from our world." My dad was more measured but equally against it. "Son, you need to think about this rationally. What does she bring to this union? What's her family background?" I told them I loved her and their opinions on her background didn't matter to me. We had a huge fight. My mom got emotional, said I was throwing away my future, that Taylor would never fit into our family. I left angry and didn't talk to them for 2 weeks. Then about 3 weeks ago, my mother called me. Her voice was different, calm, collected. "Louie, I may have been too harsh. I'd like to get to know Taylor better. Could I take her to lunch, just the two of us?" I was suspicious but hopeful. Maybe she was actually coming around. When I mentioned it to Taylor, she looked nervous as hell, but she agreed. They met for lunch on a Thursday. Taylor came home that evening and seemed quiet. When I asked how it went, she just said, "It was fine. Your mom is elegant." We had dinner, watched TV, went to bed. Normal night. Friday morning, I woke up and she was gone. Her clothes, her toiletries, her laptop, her books, everything, all gone. She'd moved out in the middle of the night while I was sleeping. She left her key on the kitchen counter. No note, nothing. Just one text message sent at 4:47 a.m. "I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore." I tried calling her immediately, straight to voicemail. Texted her, delivered, but no response. Drove to her office. Her coworkers said she'd called in her resignation this morning, effective immediately. I contacted her 2 close friends. They seemed genuinely shocked and said they hadn't heard from her. She'd vanished. Like our entire relationship had just been erased overnight. I was devastated, confused, angry. I couldn't understand what had happened. Had my mother said something so terrible at that lunch that Taylor felt she had to run? Or had Taylor been looking for an excuse to leave and finally found one? I spent 2 weeks barely functioning. Calling out of work, not eating, just trying to figure out what the hell had happened. My business partner finally staged an intervention and told me I needed to talk to someone. Then, last Tuesday, I was having dinner with my cousin Marcus. He's close with my family but has always been more on my side of things. After a few drinks, he got this uncomfortable look on his face. "Louie, man, I don't know if I should tell you this," he said. "But Aunt Margaret mentioned something at the club last week. She was having drinks with some of her friends and I overheard her talking about Taylor." My stomach dropped. "What did she say?" Marcus looked miserable. She was laughing about it. She said, "I told Louis that girl was only after one thing, and I was right. It took exactly one check to make her disappear." I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. "What?" "I'm sorry, man. I pressed her about it later and she admitted it. She offered Taylor money to leave you. A lot of money, apparently, and Taylor took it." I confronted my mother the next day. She didn't even have the decency to look ashamed. "I did what I had to do to protect you," she said simply. "I offered her money to walk away and she accepted. That tells you everything you need to know about her character, doesn't it?" Everyone thought she was so principled, so independent, but in the end she was just like everyone else. She saw an opportunity and she took it. I haven't spoken to my mother since. I've barely spoken to my father, who apparently knew about the whole thing and supported it. But here's what's destroying me. I don't know what to feel about Taylor. Part of me wants to believe she was forced into an impossible situation, but she took the money. After 2.5 years together, after all those times she insisted on paying her own way, after all her talk about not being that kind of person, she took a payoff to leave me. Like I meant nothing to her. I keep thinking about all those moments when she seemed so genuine, so real. Was it all an act? Was she just waiting for the right price? I don't know who I'm more angry at, my mother for being cruel enough to buy her off, or Taylor for being weak enough to take the deal. I feel like an idiot, like I was played. 2.5 years of my life with someone who apparently had a price tag. Has anyone else been through something like this? How do you move on when you don't even know if what you had was real? Edit. Thanks for all the comments. Some of you are saying that I should find out how much money we're talking about. I asked my mother yesterday and she refused to tell me, just kept saying, enough to reveal her true nature. I tried to check if Taylor had any large deposits recently through a mutual bank we both used for a shared expense account. We kept it for utilities, but she'd already closed it. I'm trying not to become obsessed with the number, but part of me needs to know exactly what I was worth to her. Update 1. It's been 3 weeks since my original post. I thought I'd feel better by now, but I don't. If anything, I feel worse. I confronted my mother again 2 days after my first post. This time, I didn't let her deflect. I told her I needed to know exactly what happened at that lunch, word for word, and exactly how much money she offered. My mother has this way of being coldly honest when she knows she's already won. She sat in her pristine living room, had the housekeeper bring her tea, and laid it all out like she was describing a successful business transaction. "I took her to the garden room," she said. "That's this upscale restaurant where all the society ladies have lunch. I wanted her to see that world, let her understand what she'd be stepping into if she stayed with you." According to my mother, she spent the first half of lunch being perfectly polite, asking Taylor about her work, her family, her interests. "I wanted to see if she'd pretend to be something she wasn't," Mom said, but to her credit, she didn't. She was exactly who she appeared to be, a middle-class girl with middle-class values. Then came the money talk. Mom told Taylor straight up, "My son thinks he's in love with you, and perhaps in his way he is. But Louis doesn't understand the realities of the world he was born into. If you marry him, you'll always be the outsider. His friends will be polite to your face and pity him behind his back. And eventually that will poison what you have." Taylor apparently tried to argue that we didn't care about that world, that we were building our own life. My mother laughed when she recounted this part. "That's when I knew I had her," Mom said. "She was defensive. She already felt it, that sense of not belonging, so I made it explicit." My mother offered her $200,000, cash. Tax-free, if Taylor would end the relationship and disappear from my life. $200,000. That's what our relationship was worth. Mom told Taylor to think about it for 48 hours, but apparently it didn't take her that much time to make her decision. I left her house feeling worse than when I arrived. I managed to find out more about what Taylor did after she left. Through some mutual connections, I learned that she quit her job, which we knew, moved out of state, blocked my number and blocked me on all social media, told her close friends she needed to start over but gave no details. She didn't just take the money and disappear, she scorched earth. erased me from her life like I never existed, like our entire relationship was something she wanted to forget as quickly as possible. I also found out, through my business partner who has friends in the planning department, that Taylor had formally withdrawn from that affordable housing project she'd spent 3 years developing. She was the lead planner, had all the community relationships, had fought for years to get it funded and approved, and she just walked away from it. Why would she do that? If money was tight, wouldn't finishing that project have been good for her career? And why didn't Taylor come to me? I have my own money. I could have helped her. It doesn't make sense unless she was so eager to take my mother's money and start over that she didn't care what she left behind. Part of me keeps trying to make excuses for her. Maybe she was overwhelmed. Maybe she thought she was protecting me from having to choose between her and my family. Maybe the pressure was more than anyone should have to bear. But then I remember, she took $200,000 and didn't say a word to me about any of it. That's not love. That's not even respect. That's just giving up. Or maybe it's exactly what my mother said, finally accepting what she was really there for. I've been thinking about all our moments together differently now. Every time she insisted on paying her own way, was that genuine principle or just good acting? When she seemed uncomfortable with expensive gifts, was she really that humble, or was she just waiting for the right offer? When she said she loved me, did she mean it, or was she already calculating what I might be worth to her someday? I think the truth is simpler and harder. She saw an escape route from her middle-class life and took it. My mother just happened to be the one holding the door open. I need to accept that and move on. The woman I thought I knew apparently never existed. Edit. Someone asked what happened to the housing project she abandoned. From what I understand, it's basically stalled now. Without her as the lead planner and without her community relationships, the investors are getting nervous. So yeah, she took the money and left a lot of people hanging. Not just me. Update 2, I don't even know how to start this. I've been sitting here for an hour trying to figure out what to say. Everything I thought I knew was wrong. Everything. 2 days ago, I ran into Taylor's old boss at a conference. His name is David, and he'd been Taylor's supervisor at the planning department. We'd met a few times when I picked Taylor up from work events. When he saw me, he got this really uncomfortable look on his face. We ended up getting coffee, and what he told me changed everything. First, about the housing project. I'd heard it had stalled after Taylor left, and I'd assumed it was just because she'd abandoned it. But David told me what really happened. About a week before Taylor resigned, he said, I got a call from one of our major investors. They didn't say it explicitly, but the message was clear. They were reconsidering their commitment to the project. When I asked why, they mentioned concerns about team alignment and potential conflicts of interest. I didn't understand it at the time. He took a sip of his coffee, looking miserable. Then Taylor came to my office. She was crying, Louis. I'd never seen her cry before. She told me she had to withdraw from the project. She wouldn't tell me why, just kept saying it was for the good of the program. She made me promise to keep the project going without her, to not let it die because of her exit. When I pressed her, she finally said something that stuck with me. There are people who can destroy this with one phone call, and they'll do it if I don't step away. I thought she was being paranoid. Now I think she was being realistic. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? The investor who called me. I looked into it later. The fund is managed by your father's firm, Louis. I felt like I'd been hit. My mother hadn't just offered Taylor money. She'd threatened her career. The project Taylor had spent 3 years building, the community she'd been trying to help, my mother had used it as leverage. She'd made actual moves to create concerns with the investors through my father's connections. But that's not even the worst part. I asked David if he knew where Taylor had gone. He hesitated, then said, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but she asked me to write her a recommendation letter for a graduate program, urban planning master's program at a state school in Colorado. She told me she'd come into some money and was using it to go back to school and help her parents pay off some debts. Her parents. I drove to Taylor's parents' house that same evening. I'd only met them twice. They lived in a modest house about an hour outside the city. The kind of place that's been in the family for decades, probably mortgaged multiple times. When Taylor's mother, Rosa, opened the door and saw me, she immediately started crying. "Louis," she said. "Oh, Louis, I'm so sorry." She invited me in. Her husband, Martin, was there too. They both looked devastated to see me. "We told her not to do it," Rosa said, her hands shaking. "We told her we'd find another way, but she wouldn't listen. She said it was her choice to make." That's when they told me everything. Taylor had taken my mother's money, but she didn't keep it for herself. She used $80,000 to pay off her parents' mortgage. They'd been facing foreclosure, something Taylor had never told me because she was too proud to ask for help. She used $40,000 to pay off her own student loans. She used $30,000 to set up a scholarship fund for students from her old neighborhood who wanted to study urban planning. And she used the remaining $50,000 to enroll in a graduate program, because after withdrawing from the housing project, her career in our city was basically dead anyway. My mother had made sure of that. "She came to us the night after she met your mother," Martin told me, his voice rough. "She was so angry. Not at us, not even at your mother, really. She was angry at herself. She said she'd been naive to think she could exist in your world without it destroying her." Rosa grabbed my hand. "She loved you, Louis. She loved you so much. But your mother made her see something she'd been trying to ignore, that as long as she was with you, she'd always be a weapon someone could use against you. Your mother told her that if she really cared about you, she'd leave before she became a liability." "She could have told me," I said, my voice breaking. "We could have figured it out together." "That's what we said," Rosa replied. "But Taylor said if she told you, you'd try to fight your family for her, and she couldn't let you do that. She said you'd already built your business independent from them, and she wouldn't be the reason you burned those bridges completely." I felt like I couldn't breathe. "So she just left." "She said it was the only way to protect both of you," Martin said quietly. "Take the money, use it to build a new life, and remove herself from the equation before your mother could do more damage. She made us promise not to contact you, not to tell you where she'd gone." "Where is she?" I asked. They exchanged a look. Finally, Rosa said, "Boulder, Colorado. She's in a graduate program there. But Louis, she made us swear." "I know," I said. "I know." Before I left, Rosa gave me one more thing. A letter. Taylor had written it the night she left and given it to her mother just in case. I read it in my car. I can't share all of it, it's too personal. But there was one part I keep reading over and over. "I know you'll think I betrayed you by taking the money. Maybe I did. But your mother was right about one thing. I don't belong in your world, and trying to force myself into it would only hurt us both. As long as I'm there, you'll always be vulnerable to someone threatening me, my career, my family. I can't be that weakness for you." The money felt like blood money at first. But then I realized, if I'm going to leave anyway, if that's what's best for both of us, why not take it and do something good with it? Help my parents, fund my education, create opportunities for kids like me, turn something ugly into something useful. I'm not proud of how I left. I'm sorry I didn't have the courage to say goodbye to your face. But I know if I saw you, I'd want to stay. And staying would be selfish. It would be choosing my happiness over your future. I hope someday you can forgive me for not being strong enough to fight for us. I hope you find someone who fits in your world better than I ever could. Someone your family can accept so you never have to choose." I sat in my car outside her parents' house and cried for the first time since she left. Not because she'd betrayed me, because she hadn't. She'd loved me enough to walk away, and I'd been too blind to see it. She didn't sell out our relationship. She sacrificed it to protect me. My mother didn't prove Taylor was a gold digger. She proved that she was willing to destroy a good person to get her way. And Taylor, rather than fight back and risk me getting caught in the crossfire, chose to leave. I don't know what to do with this information. I don't know if I should try to find her. Part of me wants to drive to Boulder right now. Part of me thinks that if she wanted to explain, she would have. She made her choice, even if it was for the wrong reasons. All I know is that I was completely wrong about her, and I need to figure out what to do about my family because I can't just let this go. Final update. It's been 2 months since my last update. A lot has happened. This will probably be my last post about this because I need to start moving forward instead of dissecting the past. First, the family stuff. I cut my parents off completely. Changed my phone number, blocked them on everything, made it clear through my lawyer that any attempt to contact me would be documented. My father tried once through my business partner, wanted to discuss things rationally. I told him there was nothing to discuss. I also found out that my mother had done this before. Not the exact same thing, but close enough. My cousin Marcus told me about an incident 5 years ago with my older brother's girlfriend. Different method, same result. Apparently controlling who her children date is just something my mother does. My brother never talks about it, but he's been married to someone she approves of for 3 years now, and they barely seem happy. I refuse to let that be my life. I removed myself from any business dealings connected to my family's investments. It cost me some opportunities and some money, but my company is still solid. Turns out I'm better at this than I gave myself credit for. I don't need their world or their approval, but what you really want to know about is Taylor. I found her through her graduate program. Sent an email to her student account, figuring she couldn't have blocked that one. I kept it simple. I know what really happened. I know what you did with the money. I know why you left. Can we talk? She didn't respond for 3 days. I'd almost given up when I got a reply. How did you find out? We ended up on a video call. Seeing her face after 3 months felt like getting punched and hugged at the same time. She looked different, shorter hair, tired eyes, but also somehow more settled than I'd seen her in months before she left. Your mom told you, she asked first thing. Eventually, I said, after I pieced together enough to confront her with specifics. We talked for 2 hours. She told me her side of everything, the lunch, the threats, the impossible choice she thought she was making. She told me about going to her parents' house that night, crying so hard she made herself sick. About trying to find another way before accepting that my mother would keep escalating until Taylor's career was destroyed anyway. I thought I was being smart, she said, her voice hollow. Take the money, remove myself from the situation, use it for something good instead of just disappearing with nothing. I thought I was making a sacrifice. Protecting you from having to choose between me and your family. That wasn't your choice to make, I said, probably too harshly. I know that now. She looked away from the camera. I know I should have talked to you, should have trusted us enough to fight together. But Louis, in that moment, I couldn't see a way forward that didn't end with you resenting me. Either for making you cut off your family, or for not being worth the cost of cutting them off. She told me about Boulder, about her program which she loves, about the scholarship fund she'd set up with part of the money. It had already helped 2 students start college, about her parents finally having financial breathing room for the first time in years. I won't apologize for what I did with the money, she said firmly. It was mine to take, even if the circumstances were awful, and I did something good with it, but I will apologize for how I left, for not trusting you enough to have a conversation, for making that choice without you. I told her about cutting off my parents, about restructuring my business, about finally understanding that I'd been letting them have too much influence over my life even while I thought I was independent. We talked about whether there was a future for us. It wasn't the romantic conversation I'd imagined during the drive to her parents' house months ago. It was careful and honest and sometimes painful. I don't know if I can come back to your city, she said. I don't know if I can face the people who watched your mother destroy my career and did nothing. I don't know if I can trust that world again. I'm not asking you to, I told her. That world can go to hell. I'm asking if we can build something new, something that's ours. She was quiet for a long time. Then, I need time. I need to finish this program. I need to prove to myself that I can build a career without it being held hostage to someone's approval. Can you give me that time? However long you need, I said. We're not together, not officially, but we talk every few days now. Sometimes about serious stuff, sometimes just about our days. Last week she sent me a photo of a housing project she's working on for class. Yesterday I sent her a meme about logistics that made her laugh. It's not fixed. We're not fixed, but it's something. The other day, she asked me what I would have done if she'd come to me that night after the lunch with my mother, if she'd told me everything. I would have fought, I said immediately. I would have fought my mother, protected your project, told my whole family to go to hell. I know, she said softly. That's why I couldn't tell you, because you would have burned every bridge and part of you would have wondered if I was worth it. You were, I said. You are. Maybe, she said. But now you've chosen to burn those bridges anyway. Not for me, for yourself. That's different. That means when we figure this out, if we figure this out, it's not because you sacrificed something for me. It's because we both chose to be better than the situations we were handed. I think about my mother sometimes, about how she thought she was proving Taylor was after money, but really she was just proving that she'd raised a son who didn't know how to recognize love when he saw it. She thought she was protecting me. Instead, she taught me exactly what kind of protection I don't need. Taylor didn't take money to leave me. She took money to save us both from my mother's ongoing manipulation. She was wrong to do it alone, but I was wrong to believe the worst of her so easily. I'm learning to love differently now, without conditions, without testing, without weapons. Whether Taylor and I end up together or not, I'm grateful for what she taught me, that sometimes the people who love you most are the ones who walk away to protect you, and that recognizing that kind of love means being willing to build the kind of life where they'd never have to leave again. I'm working on becoming that person. The rest we'll figure out as we go. Edit. For everyone asking, yes, my mother knows I know everything. I sent her one final email before blocking her completely. Just told her I knew what she'd done, what Taylor had done with the money, and that I was done. She tried to call my business partner to explain her side. He told her I'd asked him not to accept those calls and hung up. I love that man.